CyberBulls, really enjoying this, and hopefully you are as well. I think we're starting to really get excited now because this Tesla stock is about to just skyrocket. Lots of good news coming up. There's macro, there's all these events are coming. But of course, Elon is doing a number on the stock itself. So we've got the CyberBulls with us today. Oh, we just lost Xander. There he is. Welcome, guys. Say hi, everybody. And who wants to kick it off? I mean, why don't you, Christian, as always, with the macro? Things are looking really good. And yet it seems to be something we're not even talking about these days. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in panic mode for like 6 months. If you remember, the end of the world was occurring. We were at war. The Fed was tightening. We were anticipating all that, how far they're going to go. We were just lathering ourselves up into like a frenzy of fear and, oh my God, we're going into the Great Depression. I remember that. And now it's the war's kind of lagging on. It's still serious, but not much is happening. It looks like oil has come down, right? Oil had that big spike and now it's back under 80. We see the 10-year had a big spike and now that's coming back down. And, the Fed's still talking hawkish. I believe they're jawboning and that's doing a lot of the work for them. Powell will speak tomorrow. So let's see how hawkish he is. But they're so hawkish, it's hard to surprise to the hawkish side. Like, I don't expect Powell to go too crazy like he did at Jackson Hole, which just destroyed the market. So we're already at peak hawkishness on the Fed. So if anything, going into Jay Powell's speech, I think he's talking about labor markets and the economy going forward. So I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to be too market moving because we already kind of know where they stand. I think we're going to get 50. We got a jobs report Friday. That'll be big. Now it's counterintuitive. If we get a great jobs report, we should celebrate it, right? Because we're in this like 2-year recession, but we're not in a recession, right? We're going to grow 3-4% according to Atlanta GDP. Forget inflation for the moment, but we're still spending. But if there's a great jobs number, that puts the Fed in play. They could still tighten because the economy is going on. That's bad for the stock market. It's counterintuitive. But if we get a so-so jobs report, maybe that makes a less, more dovish Fed, which then helps the stock market because rates are not going to go up and maybe they're not going to go as aggressive as we think they are. So there's a lot of things happening, but oil is down. The 10-year's down a little bit. It spiked up a little bit today. But overall, macros we kind of know it, right? And I think the driver for Q4 is going to be the earnings, right? Do they come through? Earnings have held up pretty well. I hear all the CNBC elites, all the traders on fast money and all this stuff, 2023 earnings, I think they're looking for 220, 230. Everyone says that's a pipe dream. It's going to be lower, closer to 200. And then they throw these multiples out. Well, it should be 14 or 15. They're just making stuff up. So we got to go down to closer to 3,000. All this stuff nobody knows. So I just think if earnings holds up, I think the market can bounce. And 23, I think will all depend on the Fed, right? How hard do they want to push? Does inflation come down? We get another CPI before the Fed meets in December. So that was a lot there. But I think a lot of it right now is just we're kind of wait and see mode. The market's not doing much. It's just kind of hanging around. We're rallying. We're not giving much back, but we're not really gaining anymore now. We're just kind of flatlined. So I just think we're in wait and see mode.
How was the Thanksgiving shopping? What was the data around that?
Everyone said Black Friday was crazy. The data was great. I think they're both beat over last year by significant amounts. I don't know if Alexandra has a little bit more detail, but I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, and I haven't really published yet because now it's going until Cyber Tuesday. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. We start a week early and we finish 5 days later. I think it's crazy. But the one who seems to do less good than anticipated was Amazon, but Walmart was really up. So I don't know whether that means people are shopping at lower budgets
discount
at Walmart rather than at higher budget at Amazon. I have to wait for those. I want to pick it up where we left it last time. I think our last phrase before Thanksgiving was, we do feel there's a bottom not lower than 150, yet we have all the upside 350, 450, 550, right? So what the heck, may as well buy, which actually I did personally, and you all know about that. I think actually we have now a bottom probably around 165, 170. I just feel we're really stabilizing here. The whole noise around Twitter, I mean, how much more can it get? It's like the story du jour, and then next day is another story. I mean, yesterday fighting Apple, who we know it's tomorrow. So the whole downside, I think, is quite cemented. I don't see the Fed going more than 50 basis points either. So I actually think they're gonna, in their comments, explain that this is now the wait and see period where they will adjust whatever happens, rather recession or rather more inflation coming up, but in a very hold mode. So I do believe actually everything is in place for Tesla share to recuperate during December, which is more than deserved, but then for sure in January on delivery and production numbers, and then end of January on the earnings.
Yeah, why don't we go through all the good news? So Xander, what are the things that you are very excited about that's happening for Tesla before we talk about why the stock is still not rising? What's happening with Tesla that is just knocking out of the park everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about the semi event. That 500-mile trip was really impressive. So, looking forward to that. I was just going to touch on the stock real quick. So, I pulled up the weekly chart, and the 200-day moving average for the weekly chart. I don't know if you could see it, but like you see how that
Yes.
big bold white line. So
Yeah.
so it's supported there, which was very interesting to see. And like if we can kind of start recovering, and we're moving closer to a Q4. So I'm hopeful that very, very hopeful that Alexander's correct in that's the bottom. But yeah, I think it's just you have really strong economics coming out about Tesla. Obviously, all the other noise, I don't pay attention. But I do want to say that, you know, I haven't been on in a couple of weeks. So for Thanksgiving, I want to thank you for having me on. And also, you know, as a result of being on Clubhouse and meeting you and Christian and Alexander through Twitter, I'm going to get to go to the semi event thanks to Jeffrey Lutz. So,
Nice.
so thanks for building those relationships for me.
Oh, no, you did as well.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. But yeah, so Tesla Semi is a
Uh-oh, did we lose Herbert?
Uh-oh, he froze. Well,
Frozen Herbert.
Christian, this is your
Pounds.
chance. Take over. Oh,
He's
there
back.
he is.
He's back. Okay.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
back. You're back.
You're
You're
back.
back.
You froze for a second.
No, no,
You
what
froze
happened?
for
So
like 30
500
seconds.
miles and eight fully loaded. So that must mean it has 1,000 miles or more if it doesn't have a trailer connected to it. This is pretty massive. Yet I think we're just going to have a show and nobody's going to care and nothing's going to happen to the stock yet again, right?
And did you
Pretty much.
did you hear all this? I mean, these discussions on Twitter, sometimes I really can't. So Elon published 500 miles and 81,000 kilograms, right? And then the naysayers obviously were straight away, no truck can ever be more than 80,000. Well, guess what? If it's electric powered, it can be 82,000, right? So, I mean, it's just crazy how uneducated people are. They don't even go on Google. They just throw something out, whatever is good for it. And so I was really pleased because that is, I mean, first of all, it's a major pull through. And then the other thing is the charging time. The charging time for 70% of the 500 miles is less than half an hour. Nobody can compete with that. It's just absolutely unbeatable for any other semi. Yeah, it's absolutely
Repeat
crazy.
that again. Half an hour to get 70% charge?
Half an hour for a 70% charge, yes.
Wow.
And that's fine because remember, these truck drivers, they need to break anyway by law, I believe. So they need to take a half hour.
This is phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Bill Gates.
You know, the
was,
Nikola. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Nikola is really a competitor, but in the semi industry, they still consider Nikola a competitor, and that's the closest competitor to Tesla because all the others, the Volvos and whatever, have half the range, if even. So the Nikola truck, if I remember right, is around 330 miles, but it takes 4 times the time to charge it. I mean, obviously, you cannot charge it for 500 miles anyway, but to get the Nikola truck to the same limit than the 70% of the Tesla, it takes 4 times the time, 2 hours.
And I think their problem is just making them at scale. They just can't get them out, right? This has been forever. And I think Bill Gates, he had an interaction with Elon once, and he said, I don't think it's possible. And Elon's like, it's possible. We're doing it. And it looks like, we're going to do it. And I know we don't think anything's going to happen of it, but it's still going to be a great event. I believe Elon's going to be there, so we're going to see him. He's going to be showing off this great truck. Hopefully, I don't know what it'll look like, but with Pepsi, and it's just another great event. Maybe the Cybertruck makes an appearance. Who knows? They got one. Maybe it's just sitting there. Not that they're going to do much. Maybe it's just off to the side, or maybe they just want to focus on semi. But yeah, let's get into the great stuff, because like we got this valuation. Like last week, we talked about the stock collapsing. We had a report today in China, November sales, not quite double, but almost double, like a lot of the other months. So it's a record month. We have reports that they're going to do a third shift in Giga Berlin, and production is like skyrocketing, right? I don't know the exact number, but what was it? Maybe 600 a day, something like that. You can do the weekly math. We have literally the semi event coming up. So we have so many great things, and the epic Q4 that Elon was talking about on the Q3 conference call looks like it is developing. And as all this is happening, and the stock price is doing nothing. Like, we spoke about it. We're trading it, 50 something times trailing into a great Q4, which is going to, if we get close to that $5 for the year of 22, we're going to be trading it under a 40 trailing PE, which is crazy. And I'll just say this one more time. Chipotle, who's got half the growth of Tesla right now, has a 53 trailing PE. So I'll shut up.
Something you've been saying quite often is that any catalyst that Tesla has, any good news, is not going to reflect in the stock price until the macro is better. But the macro is looking good. So can you not now agree that it's no longer just the macro? You can't just keep pointing at the macro. It's now Elon's activities and statements regarding Twitter. Has that not taken over the oxygen in the air, and it's causing people to be afraid of Tesla stock at this point, or holding back?
It's possible. What I would say, I'm not blaming on macro. What I'm saying is, in this macro, Tesla is killing it. It's going to be a blowaway Q4. They have so many ships that are exporting. I think it's a record on the seas.
35,
They're killing it in China. Berlin's ramping up. Texas is looking fuller than ever. Fremont's doing its thing. We're about to go, like Jeff always says, into the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to help, be a tailwind to Tesla. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a little bit what you're talking about, Herbert. Maybe it's a little bit macro. Maybe it's the market not getting it. Maybe the market just cannot fathom Tesla selling $50,000+ cars at 50% growth year after year after year, or 40% growth. Go look at Adam Jonas, who's bullish, has a 300, whatever. I don't know what the price targets are. They bring it down now, which is the most stupidest thing, because the stock goes down. Then they just, like Dan Ives, complete joke. What, yeah, I mean, and their earnings per share are nowhere near. Tesla's going to come in way over. So what I'm saying is, you're right. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but eventually it's like a coiled spring that happened before in 2019. Eventually there's so much good news, and people are going to look around and say, wow, they just delivered a Q4. Wow, the earnings was great. Wow, they're guiding 50% next year again. Wow, Cybertruck's going to become a reality. Wow, like all this stuff. And we got to, we're trading at the valuation. So the reason I'm so excited is because we're not at a $1 trillion valuation or a 1.2 trillion valuation where you thought was a deal, Herbert. We're trading in the 500 billion. So if you loved it at a trillion, you love it at 500 billion.
Xander, I haven't asked you yet. What's your thinking about this whole Twitter hoo-ha and how it's impacting the stock?
I really like,
or the brand.
I think it's unfair in a way, because these are two separate companies, and I understand like the quote overhang of Elon possibly needing to sell shares to back it up. But I saw some politician this morning, and I absolutely the one that was saying, like, we're going to go after Elon. Like, what are we trying to see on Twitter? He's pushing free speech. Like that's what America's about. So I think as that, like, when you start getting government backing up that, there's nothing nefarious about trying to promote free speech, and so I'm hopeful that kind of everyone will wrap their minds around it and stop making it a thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think what they need, actors in the market are bizarre. When people are portfolio managers and have to look after their 40, 50 stock in the portfolio and consider maybe a new stock like Tesla, They want to do that at a moment when they have confirmation, when they have, they will see now the Q4 results. It will be as good. They don't mind getting into a stock 10 or 20% higher if they feel comfortable about it. Sometimes you have people that just don't want to buy at these levels because they feel like, oh, it's gone down, may it go down further. I don't want to be the one that buys too early. They don't mind buying into a rising stock rather than one that has been currently falling. So that's one point. The second is the Twitter noise. I mean, there are days it even gets too much to me, even though I tell myself all the time it's only going to be temporary. What it does is it takes away the share of voice Elon has. Before that, Elon's voice was Tesla, was SpaceX, and whatever memes and funny stuff he could bring up with. Now it's 80% political or Twitter. And so people get, and I mean, especially in America, you talk politics, people get just so completely wrapped up, right? I mean, you have people on the left feeling left out, and you have people on the right who now suddenly, love Elon and it's all about freedom of speech. They didn't even know how to spell his name 3 weeks ago. But it just, it is the most bizarre thing. And it just brings around so much more noise and so much more lost share of voice for Tesla, right? So I keep on maintaining, I really think this is the moment Tesla needs to straighten out their communication. It just needs to get away from what it's all and make sure they have a voice on their own where they talk safety, cars, deliveries, and whatever. And this semi event on Thursday may be a first step into that direction. I really hope so. But the other thing is all this share of voice loss. This is so temporary. I mean, in 3 weeks, maybe in 3 months, we will not talk about it anymore, right? This is going to be so short-lived.
I was going to debate you on that one. Are you sure? All three of you guys agree that this is temporary? I think it's a permanent thing now.
What I would say is, I don't know.
A permanent thing?
Well, yeah. I think Elon owning Twitter is a permanent thing. Now, I think what will happen is once Elon gets it under control, there's always going to be some noise out of there, but the Tesla fundamentals at some point will take, right? You have to believe in that. If you believe in the great investors like Buffett and Peter Lynch and all these guys who say eventually the value of the company and the stock price meet up somewhere down in the future, right? If you believe in that, then it really doesn't matter, because eventually, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, the valuation of Tesla and the business performance will align. Now, that could really, and it could take a while, and a lot of distraction could hold it up for a while. But think of it like this, Herbert, and again, this is just my opinion. What if they do a great Q4 and the earnings comes out? I don't care if the stock goes up or down, but you got to print now, and you have 2022 close to $5 in earnings, and they guide for the 50% delivery. So let's say they could do 7 to 8 next year. At what point, people want to make money, right? Investing. At what point, if you're a growth manager or a value manager or whatever, any stock, do you say, okay, I got this company here trading at under 40 times, and they're going to give me 60, 70, 80% earnings growth next year, and maybe another 50 or 60 the next year after that. Exactly. At what point do they say, hey, I got to pull the trigger and I got to buy this thing? It's got the investment grade. It's in the S&P 500. It's becoming a cash flow machine. They announced the buyback, which is only going to help sentiment a little bit more. At what point do you say, hey, I got to buy this thing? So you're right. It could be a while, but I think medium to long term, the value will be. And I think as an investor in Tesla, the politics is going to be there. So it was McCarthy, and DeSantis was another guy that came out and defended Elon. And I don't want to get political about this, but what I want to say is it's good that at least Elon has somebody in the political realm to help. And I think, Herbert, you would agree with this. As an all-in Tesla investor, I think you want your investment to do well. So politics aside, it's good that at least there's a balancing act where you have maybe some people that are against some of it and some people are for it. And I think what will happen is it'll be a wash. And in the long term, again, the value will come out. That's just the way I think about it.
Here's my point. So Jeffrey brought it up, just what I was going to say. So he goes, what if Tesla does all these great things and the media suppresses because it's positive sentiment connected to Elon, and that's not allowed anymore. He's created enemies. We know he's had many enemies. He's creating even more enemies now, fighting against Apple, the largest, baddest, biggest competitor you could possibly have. But the media, when he bought Twitter, it was his way to control the media. The media is even now completely, clearly on the other side. So they're going to say all sorts of things now just to hit back on Elon. Elon's going to try to use Twitter to try to, and that's his way to shape the narrative of the conversation. But what I mean by permanent is the drama that's going to continue coming out of Twitter, one thing after another. And Elon is front and center. Politics, racism, anything like that. He didn't say anything about Pepper the Frog yesterday.
I don't even know
He's
what that
like
was.
until he creates a content moderation team, a group of people with clearly defined policies. Right now, he is the one person that makes these calls. And Mark Cuban's tweet yesterday basically said exactly that, right? You are, judge and jury. So until he pulls himself off, he is the person in charge of Twitter. He's clearly the person making all these decisions. Trump goes in, doesn't come in, and he kind of does a poll. But, this is going to happen and for a long time until he pulls off and lets a team running it, right?
But Herbert,
Well, let me take that. I mean, that's where.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's where my 3 weeks to 3 months come in. I mean, he will appoint people. He always said he will appoint a committee for the rules of who is in, who is out, and what's considered hate speech.
He said that, and he said that, then he pulled off because he said the advertisers, because of what they did, I'm no longer going to do that. So right now, he's pulled off his decision. Is going to create a content moderation team.
But he will create that committee, and he will appoint sooner or later somebody running Twitter. He's not going to run Twitter forever. He will be there making sure they put in place the algorithm and whatever else he wants. Let me just make sure two things. First of all, we all understand this is not about advertisers anymore. He wants to make Twitter the WeChat of this world where people place products. That's something completely different than advertising. Advertising, like we've seen yesterday with Apple, they just throw out all these ads for their $250 gift card because they can't get rid of their old phones anymore, and then everybody sees that. That's old style advertising. What Elon wants to do is like WeChat, that the product is actually tailored to whoever reads it. So I will see something else than Xander will, because Xander is building his house and I'm just feeding my kids, right? So we will see different ads, but for those ads, we can directly purchase on the app. And that means the whole payment processing and the whole logistics will be handled by Twitter, and that's where the money sits. So that's something completely different than ads. And then the second thing is the free speech of it. The free speech of it is actually hyper important to Tesla. I'm tomorrow going to debate with a gentleman that's coming from the government agencies. I see the biggest risk for Tesla, and I've said that for a long time, in pissed off government agencies, people that will delay FSD, people that will delay whatever the bot will come or whatever, just anything that can come from the regulators that we can't influence. The only way you can influence government agencies is by bright sunshine. If he has the Twitter platform and has the millions and billions of people using it, reading what he has to say, he can shine sunlight on these shenanigans and mobilize people. And I think that's what's so important about Twitter. And that's why it's so important to Tesla, that it will be the medium, not depending on Main Street media anymore or whatsoever, but the medium that will allow to discuss these matters and bring it to the front line. The same way that he yesterday discussed Apple. I mean, we all knew there was a 30% payment that was taken off from Apple, but the fact that he put it out yesterday, there are millions more people that know now than didn't know 2 days ago. And all these tweets serve exactly that purpose, making sure everybody knows what we're talking about, who is taking too much money, who is having too much influence, and who is not playing the game how it should be.
Yeah. And let me just point out, Herbert, and I hear what you're saying, so this is a good back and forth, but Elon has been critical of Apple and the 30% before he had Twitter. He's talked about Tim Cook not taking the meeting, so there's no love lost there. The other thing is, Elon, when he does his things, he knows he's going to get some pushback, but in order to get stuff done, he's the only one to come out and really, because he's got a huge megaphone. Epic Games sued Apple. Facebook, or now Meta, got destroyed by Apple's policies, really hurt that business. Spotify, there's a lot of businesses now if Elon could coalesce some of that and get a consortium of people, we've heard this a little bit, maybe something happens. I'm not even calling for anything like that, but this is what you do in business. Like, you can't be a wallflower. Elon just can't sit there and expect things are going to get done unless he does stuff.
Agree.
I think what people in this country are not used to is actually doing stuff. I think, anytime, oh my God, he's firing people. Of course he's firing people. The business is bleeding money. He's got to make it lean and mean. Now, he doesn't go about it like maybe you would or I do. Oh, please, do better. Maybe not. Maybe 3 months I'll give you. No, he needs to clean shop. He's the old school way of doing things. Even now, he's saying, look, I've had bosses like that. In a month, I need to see this. If you're not up to speed, you're gone. I've seen reports like that. Like, if you're not writing whatever, I don't know, code and all that, but if you don't have your stuff up to gear and you're not ready to present, you don't have a place here. He's looking for the best talent in the world, and he wants them to work super hard. Okay, that is an American value, right? That used to be anyway. Now working hard is considered, oh, who wants it? That's where, and I don't want to be, a little bit. I know Europe. I actually have European. My dad's from England and Italy, so. But Europe got very lazy. It became a state, right?
Sure.
Everything was done by the government. They always talk about the government. The healthcare is through the government. A lot of the spending, they look to the government as almost like the economy. Where America, we're still, even though we vacillate, and we do have safety nets like Social Security, government programs, Medicare, but we still are. And what make America great is the business, the entrepreneurship, the working hard to get ahead.
Yeah.
That is still number one. And that's why America will remain number one as a superpower because of that work ethic.
Let's get back to the topic at hand. Okay?
But I think it's important to understand Elon's personality. He's not here to make friends. He's not here to appease the left. He's here to get stuff done.
Yeah, no. Okay, we all get that part. The question is whether or not him buying Twitter, and will he be able to control the narrative, or because he's creating all these enemies, like the government and the media, and they're going to attack him.
I don't think Herbert, you said this earlier, and it stuck with me.
The government's with him.
Wait, yeah, can I, I want to ask you, Xander, but let me just bring this up, okay? So Tesla Economic says this, which is brought it up. Us forgot that we forgot ourselves that one of the good news that just recently happened is FSD beta was wide released. We're not even talking about it. It's not being discussed anywhere.
Right.
This is going to be the greatest friggin' technology leap in the history of the world, saving lives, saving money, the greatest value transfer asset to companies eventually, right? It's heading that direction. This was a huge milestone. We're not talking about it. Media's not talking about it. So, Xander, I mean,
they are
obviously.
Jalopnik put out a beautiful article that my friend sent me, the bear friend, and he says, "Oh, look, now you can get your FSD because they've removed the and the title of the article was something like people who failed the test can now get FSD, and it's biased and it's very negative, and that's always going to continue. I really don't think that Elon has purchased Twitter to control the narrative. I really don't think that. I think it's really about a civil discourse, both sides being able to, to create a middle ground for people to discuss when they have differing opinions. It's frustrating to see that everyone's just trying to say that he's trying to flip it on the media and he gets control, like he's big bad billionaire. But in reality, this is what disruption looks like. He's trying to disrupt the media, right? Disrupt the control that politics has on the narrative of everything, not just Tesla. And I really think that he thinks much bigger and grander than just controlling headlines about Tesla.
Yeah, and he's not alone.
Well, one thing I want to throw in.
Go ahead.
One thing I want to throw in. Yesterday, he announced that he's going to publish what he found in the Twitter back doors, right? Once he had it, and how the influence happened on probably elections or whatever. I don't even know what is all involved, and that he will publish all that. Up to the moment this will be published, you can see heat. There's just, that's something people want to defend. This was done behind back doors and in the quiet, and nobody wants the stories out. I mean, we want them out. We want to see them, but nobody that was involved.
Right? They want to discredit him.
Exactly.
That's
and
really
so this
what's
is going to
happening.
be hot. This is going to be hot until they're out. But I do believe he has decided he will do it. And that's what he said yesterday in that tweet.
Yeah.
Now, does this really have to do anything with Tesla? No, it doesn't. I think he just genuinely wants to make sure that these shenanigans stop and that social media is not abused for a single party or for a certain purpose. And that's good and has nothing to do with Tesla. So why should Tesla stock suffer from it? And the only reason there is, like I said, it's a share of voice. The fact that nobody talks about Tesla and nobody talks about the FSD wild release. Now, one reason why that doesn't have an impact on the stock yet is, first, most people don't understand, right? The ones that purchased it or are subscribing are Tesla fans and Tesla shareholders, and they all want it to go up, but it's not the big Wall Street buyers or anybody else. So the second reason is, at the moment, that doesn't mean more money yet. Let's see. Maybe in the Q4 earnings, we suddenly have more subscriptions or whatever. Then it may go up, but at the moment, no. And then the third step is, will this really become a robotaxi? Because there are people that just don't believe this whole robotaxi idea. There are more people who don't believe it or don't know about it than there are who do believe in it. And so we have, step by step, convince the general public on what's happening, and that robotaxis will become. It's funny when I speak to complete non-Tesla users, never heard of Teslas, never been in there, and I tell them, this car is going to drive by itself soon. It won't have a steering wheel anymore, and you just sit where you want. They go, well, I like driving. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. It's not about you liking driving. Understand it. But they don't want to understand it. This is so different in their lives that they can't even fathom it.
I have a question for you guys. So I'm one of the few that believe, I understand FSD, bot, and all that. I'm one of the few that believe the core business could become a $2 trillion, just the EV business. A lot of people that are bulls on Tesla don't believe that. They believe you need an FSD type of thing to really get that market cap up, or bot. I'm not of that belief. I believe there's so much growth in the EV business, and they're so profitable at it going forward as they keep scaling, that alone could drive the market cap a double or a triple more. Do you guys agree with that? I don't know who wants to take that, but I hear a lot of people, even a lot of bulls, saying the stock's not going to go up unless one of these other things that the market doesn't know about happens. Or are you of the belief, no, the core EV business, as it grows and as it scales to millions and 2 million and 5 million, that alone could bring the stock price to, say, a 2 trillion market cap? Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, we were on EV alone at a market cap of 1.2 trillion, right? Because that's what the market believed. There was no belief in FSD then. I don't think anybody at Wall Street considered FSD at that moment a revenue stream. So can we move from 1.2 trillion to 2 trillion just on cars alone? Sure. That's not that big of a jump for a company that grows 50% per year on EVs only. Now, the question always is, for me, will they actually continue growing by 50%, meaning selling cars for 50%, having that 30% margin, or will they turn into another business model where we're not growing by 50% because we use these cars for something else? That's a completely different discussion.
I agree with you, Christian, because the way just by the EV car market alone, you can see how it's going to evolve. They're going to add Cybertruck and Semi happening this year. They're going to create a subcompact car that's going to be sub $50,000. But on top of all that, they are working to make sure that the price of creating that car is going to be half the price. And so the margins for that is going to be just through the roof. And then they're going to change the business model, right? They're going to be able to add insurance and entertainment. And if they're able to reduce the price and then offer a sub $35,000, $25,000, with or without robotaxi, that should just wipe out everyone else. And the question is the market share going to fall to 20%, which just that alone, I'm perfectly fine and happy with. We'll have 85% of the profit margin, but 25% of the market share. Or if all these other OEMs falter and or forget if they even succeed, it's that, can Tesla produce a high margin, low price car because they just stamp it out like this, like crazy, If that when that comes out, it's going to change the game, and then they can maintain 70% of the market. And then if you add that up, it should be a $2 trillion company.
Yeah. I'm still not worried about that. I don't think anyone's coming. I think it was called Operation Highland. That lower car is called, and I think that was moved up. There was a report and it said it was like Q4. Now they moved it up to like the middle of the year that they're going to try to do that. So that would be a game changer, because even if the margins are a little bit lower.
I understood Tesla redesign of Tesla Model 3, not that this is the compact car.
Right, but they're trying to lower cost,
price,
right? To make
a lower price Model 3,
right? So the compact car
redesign, and it's not a question. I don't think it's a question of lower quality. It's a measure of higher yield or better yield on mass production of Model 3, because certain interior elements currently cost quite a lot of money because they weren't designed initially for the mass production that's gonna happen, and that will bring the price down.
I believe it's going to be based on a Cybertruck platform, and it's going to be just that much cheaper.
The stem, Did you see that there is a new Gigapress which was delivered?
What's that?
Yeah. They were building it. So there's so much stuff going on. But Herbert, I got to push back from a high level. I know we're depressed as Tesla's investors. The stock was 400 and now it's under 200. I'm not feeling that way. I know in the long term, these things are building up. And what I would say is, I think it's going to happen, right? I don't know if it's next month, next year. There's so many tailwinds, especially with this Inflation Reduction Act. You're right. Elon selling, all this stuff, we've talked about it a million times. But as an investor, I know you're staying the course, but I could hear the frustration a little bit in your voice. And granted, I think you just need to let it go. You need to let all that stuff go. If you're an all-in Tesla investor, and this is good for the audience, if you're an all-in Tesla investor, you have to take Elon for who he is. You have to accept it, and you have to get right with it, because he's not going to change. He's not going to overnight, magically turn into the kind of person you want, a CEO you want. So you either are in with him and Tesla, and I know we think Tesla could do it on his own, but as long as Elon Musk is the CEO, it's his company, and he's the figurehead. He's the mastermind behind it. So if you can't get behind him, I don't know how you own this company if in a huge amount if you're not an Elon person. So at some point, people, So you want to, how do you? I think.
Let me just ask the question then with the speakers here. Do you guys think that there's long-term brand damage to Tesla? Because you're correct. I think that the fundamentals are through the roof. I mean, we cannot be more excited as Tesla investors. Everything's out of the park. Gig of China, Gig of Berlin, Texas. They're all just going through the new deliveries, the new products. We just went through the list. There's so many good news for Tesla. So the only thing that's not good news for Tesla is the potential long-term brand destruction. Is there such a thing? Or is there not such a thing? Like some people used to say, oh my God, you drive a Tesla. You are an EV driver. You're such a nice, kind guy. Now it's like you're an asshole. I may be wrong. That might be like anecdotal. That might be anecdotal.
I wasn't kind, and I'm not an asshole now. So they were just wrong from the start.
Before I forget about it, Herbert, let me answer that.
I'm just wondering the question, Herbert, if there is this thing that's happening.
This is on top of my head. I got to answer this because you've been talking about your brother and your cousin. Nobody wants a Tesla. Listen, 30-something%, and this is just high level. It's to answer your point. 30-something% were domestic sales. That means a lot of sales were international. So now you say, okay, out of the 33% domestic, maybe half are Republicans or don't care about politics, and half are Democrats. So now you're down to 15%. Now out of that, how many actually care about politics? When you get down to it, you're down to 3 or 4% that care about this stuff. That's not enough to destroy product demand. So I know you keep talking about it. Right. That's not enough.
But I mean,
go ahead.
But then it's also brand versus who. I mean, these people then buy what? A Volkswagen, a GM, a Ford. But good luck to them, right? You can be on your high horse and buy another one, but then you have to charge it, and then you have to maintain it, and then you see the value going down quicker than you can even breathe. I mean, this is all temporary to the point that, yes, today they're annoyed. Elon doesn't say what they loved, he said 5 years ago, and they don't agree with him today. And they would have liked him not talk about Apple because they like their iPhone. And tomorrow they won't like him talk about politics because it's not their party. But that's, I mean, do we even remember the scandal of 10 days ago? I'm sure we don't, right? These things have such a short news cycle. Right. You have no idea where we will be in January. So one thing I just want to point out that grounds me from time to time, because there are days I overheat as well, and I'm like, oh my God, why did he say that? What that? Blah blah blah, and I got all wrapped up about it. Sit down, put down the numbers to all of you out there. Think, when do you want to touch this money? Write it down with a pen. Do you want it in 2023? Do you want it in 2027? Do you want it in 2030? Just make a plan when you want this money. Once you've written this down, read what you just wrote down and then put your brain on. Because if you don't need it the next 6 months, that's it. Relax. Don't you worry. That's just it. If you need it the next 6 months, you got a problem, because you shouldn't be in equities anyway, right? You never be in equities with money you need within the next 6 months. And that's it. And all the rest doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like managing greed, as I've been saying, is like the hardest part. So people will use the last bit of their savings to go ahead and invest. But when the market's going up, it's easier, and it feels like there's less risk. But the reality is it's just as risky, because things can change on a dime, right? So I wanted to say something else, but it escapes my mind. So it'll come back to me.
And the other thing, Herbert, Volkswagen they're leaving China. They're doing terrible in China. Volkswagen selling. They can't sell anything. Like Mach-E's barely. Nobody is selling anything at scale. In the U.S., we own the market. In China, we're second to BYD, but they're not really selling BEVs. Are they even profitable? So again, if you get down to the business of it, all this other stuff's a sideshow. I agree with Alexandra. That's a great point. I've had to train myself now to become more patient. And what I've been doing is just slowly adding, all this volatility. So, I know a lot of people are all in, so they can't take advantage of it. And they are upset at that because the price dropped a lot. They didn't expect it to get this low. And now, even if we go up maybe 30, 40, 50%, they're just back to even. So I get the frustration. But again, if you're an equity investor, you have to expect these type of things coming. And these are lessons that we learn going forward of how to manage our portfolio better, and understanding risk, and understand there's no short things, and the market doesn't work on your time horizon, right? It does what it wants to do. So but
I saw that there's a statistic that said there's 57 competitors, and they all have like something like 10 to 20,000 sales. But that's why there's a reduction from 70% market share for Tesla to 50%.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like tiny little thing. And there's nobody can beat the Tesla in terms of how great the car is. They're about to release App Store. It's rumored that's going to be released by this Christmas. There's a supercharger network, which is equivalent to, the gas stations out there, and then they've opened it up to everybody. And so the advantages are just getting to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore. It's like the best product that's ever going to be made. They're already there. So it's
and also the most vertically integrated company. I mean, we didn't talk much lately about the fact that they are really actively searching for mining. I mean, is there anybody else out there that is gonna go from the raw material all the way to the finished car that may soon drive by itself, right? All vertically integrated. So given all that, we should just not worry. But for such a disruptive company, people need time. I mean, I'm often criticizing ARK funds, but one thing Kathy would always said is, don't go in our funds if you don't have 5 years ahead of you, right? I mean, fair enough. Those that were in their last 5 years, they're paying it dearly. But but I mean, to her credit, at least she warned people, because I mean, if people went in there and came just the last 15 months, they lost 3/4 of what they put in, right? So you have to understand the risk category of different stock, and Tesla does have a beta of 1.6, which reflects also a higher risk compared to other Nasdaq stocks. So people have to understand that. And for risk, there is only one solution. It's time. You have to give it time. That's just it.
Time is your friend. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
Now,
how
the
much?
beta, I've even seen it higher. Why is Tesla? I wasn't asked Alexandra. Why is Tesla? I've even seen 1.8. Why is that the beta? Is it because people just trade it crazy? Why is it considered every quarter they're delivering profits and they're delivering like clockwork great results? Why the beta so high on that?
Well,
Why would it
Christian,
deviate from the
I mean,
market so much?
the beta works in both senses. I mean, obviously, the last 9 months we only feel it going downward, but when Tesla goes up, it goes up like a rocket, right? Much more than Nasdaq as well. So that's just it. Those are the stocks that overreact one way or the other. We love it when it goes up, and we're hurt when it goes down. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but the beta recently has been working the opposite way. The S&P is up like 10%, and Tesla is going the opposite way. It's going reverse.
Well, yeah, but that's not only beta. When you see the Nasdaq, I did it last week. The Nasdaq was down about 40%, and Tesla was down 52 or 58. I don't remember. So that difference, the Nasdaq adjusted by the beta of 1.6 would have been 40%. Yet Tesla was down 52. Right. So those additional 12%, that's the Twitter noise. There's just no doubt about it. There are people who got scared, margin called, whatever. There were differences. I think we discussed that at Schwab suddenly increased the threshold they needed for the margin calls. So there was just too much pressure, public pressure on the name Tesla, on the name of Elon, and that happened. But in more calmer circumstances, you just have at the moment still the behavior of a young disruptive company, even though it's in the S&P, even though it's number 6 or number 7 in the world. Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's a great comment.
I looked at a month chart. I think a couple of days ago. I think that the Nasdaq with the Qs was up 5% and Tesla was down 15%. But I get your point. There's a lot going on which is skewing that. And over the long term, I guess if we got back into a bull market, Tesla we hope would outperform better than the Qs or the S&P. Absolutely. What else you got, Herbert? You got anything exciting for us to chat about?
I do. I think one thing that I'm excited about, in all this noise, that Elon is focusing his entire attention on Twitter because he has to since he bought the company a month ago. Tesla is running perfectly.
Yeah.
It's rolling out amazing numbers. You got to step back and go, whoa, okay, it's pretty well independent. It's running along and they're still hitting it out of the park, milestones after milestones. So you got to look at that and go, this is good news. Right?
Yeah, eventually the business, like I said, the fundamentals, like, so if you see Elon at Twitter so much, that means he must be confident in the Tesla story, right? Because he's not involving, it's like running on autopilot, no pun. And SpaceX isn't missing a beat with Gwynne Shotwell. It's like, Elon's doing what he has to do. And see, we don't get Elon. Elon is not like us, okay? I know a lot of people know this. He is and I'm even learning more about this man every day. He does not care about the day-to-day. The man is on a mission. He found a new mission, the mission of free speech. And I've seen him interact with other high-profile figures that support him, that if you don't have free speech, then literally the country of America will go downhill if you suppress it, right? It leads to tyranny. That's how his brain's thinking, Herbert. I know yours isn't thinking that way. You think everything is great. But some people like free speech. Some people want more of a balance. And again, not to get political, but for a long time in this country, through the media networks, through the financial networks, the journalism, they lean left. Okay, it's just a fact. And they tilt their stories to their desire. Okay. Again, it's just a
Christian,
fact.
he's suffering. Don't go there. Look at Herbert. He's suffering.
I'm not suffering. I'm suffering because of the idiocy that I'm hearing.
Herbert,
That's
we have to talk about this stuff because now I told you, and when I was
why do we have to talk about
back and forth, that now that Elon is doing this, there's no way to get around it. Like, we could talk about it very respectfully and the civil discourse that we all want. So no one gets mad here. I could talk about anything. I don't get angry or mad. But you have to bring it up because Elon is doing it. You can't separate Elon from Tesla. You can't separate Twitter from Tesla now. It is one thing. Now, eventually, Tesla will move on its fundamentals eventually. But in the short to medium term, all this is intertwined, and Elon's personality is at the center of it. So if we're going to do this show, we have to bring it up very respectfully, or we're not giving a good, honest dialogue. That is my opinion.
Hey, Christian, You're saying that some people don't understand Elon. I find it hysterical. He makes a musket joke, right, which is with his last name. That's funny. But then he puts Coca-Cola cans, and what is he delivering on Thursday? Pepsi trucks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he
You
just
can't
has
make
a
this
sense
stuff
of,
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
he's
just
putting
has a
up
sense of
memes,
humor,
the three things, they're not mad at TikTok, they're not mad at this, but Twitter, we got to look into that, right? And I heard it too. And I put this, the funniest thing, again, Herbert, I'm not picking on you. I'm just being honest. The White House, the spokesman's like, oh, we're looking at it. What are you going to do about this? They're getting more engagement. And what's the White House going to do about Twitter? And most of us are saying, why does the White House have to do anything with Twitter? It's a private company. Why are they investigating anything with Twitter? That's where you lose the public trust. It seems
Absolutely.
like it's all about power. And the powerful, when they're being disrupted and their narrative is being destroyed, which Elon is doing, he did it with cars. You didn't mind that disruption. He did it with space. You didn't mind that disruption. But you do mind the disruption of
No.
the
First of
media
all, you're putting
and
a
of
lot
this.
of words in my mouth, and
I know you want to go
there's
at me. Go
everything.
ahead.
I'm not going to go after you because every word you say has nuances to it, and so it's not like you're making me sound like I'm far left and you're far right or whatever. It's not the case. Okay, it's all about nuance, right? What is freedom of speech? Is there actually an issue with freedom of speech? How is it going to destroy civilization? Wokeness. Well, it depends on how you define it, and clearly there are times when it can and times it doesn't. But this is a question I've been wanting to know. What are you sipping on, Christian? Because you keep sipping on that thing. It looks like water, but
Is it
sometimes
vodka or water? We don't know.
yeah, I've been wondering too. I really have.
As I get
I have a
more
question
animated
to
in
all
the
of
show,
you.
so maybe maybe it is some
That's all you do all day. It's like
I'm very thirsty.
I have a question. I have a question. You have to help me. Why on his bedside? Why did he publish that photo on the bedside table? And why were there two guns on it? I mean, I'm too European to understand that. So
I understand that they
are.
are. I understand. I don't know if this is true, but I understand that they're toy guns. That they're part of a video game.
Toy. They look real. They look beautiful.
Yeah, no,
really?
Isn't one a musket?
The musket is real. Right. But the other one was a game that's used in a game.
A video game. Yeah.
So
another replica.
Right. So I'll speak on it. So the question Alexander said. So to me, even though that is not a normal thing for a CEO to put on, I identify with it. The way Elon thinks and the way I think are very similar. So to me, I saw it was a funny meme. He's got Diet Cokes and he's got guns because he's been worried about his safety. And the guns were beautiful.
No, he's not. He's just making a musket joke.
Okay, whatever.
Yes, he is.
He
okay, first of all,
history.
can I say this? Can I say this, guys? A musket is the old rifle.
No, it was a handgun. It wasn't
a
musket.
I don't know if you call that a musket, but
guys, you got the whole thing wrong.
First of all,
beautiful guns that he was showing. They were wonderful.
Let me hear from the speakers here, the bulls here, what you guys think, okay? Because I'm a little upset and tired when I hear bulls talk about Elon is amazing. He's doing 7D chess. Oh, when he put that photo up, he's actually planning all sorts of things of why he's doing that. And that's just bull. There's so many things he does that is absolutely correct, right? He's really thought through the first principles for, disrupting EVs and so forth. But there's a lot of things he does that he just clicks a button, sends it impulsive. It wasn't thinking about it. He pulls it off later. But everybody here is going, oh no, that's his, 7D chess that he's doing because he's actually trying to, everything's all pre-planned. No, there's a lot of things he's doing that is absolutely just bonkers. And then he himself pulls it off.
If you listen,
do you guys agree or not agree?
I agree. If you listen to him at the G20, he talked about making a lot of mistakes. He's got a lot of flaws. That's what I'm saying. You either accept the memes and you invest with him or you don't.
Right.
Like that's why a lot of people don't mess around with Tesla because they can't stand it. And so what I'm saying is it's easier if you understand Elon and where he's coming from. And I think where we get the disconnect is Elon isn't managing the business day to day like a Tim Cook, like a Sundar Pichai. He is managing a big vision. And what he's doing with Twitter, I think this is important. What he's doing with Twitter, some people, we did our spaces, they don't see a problem. They say everything's great. Everyone has free speech. There's no problem here. And then there's people like me, and I'll just speak for myself, that I did see a problem. I do see people getting kicked off platforms. I do see people talking about things that were proven to be correct that were booted because it wasn't the narrative of the administration surrounding things I won't mention. So when you see that happen in the great country of America, and Elon saw it happening, he wanted to do something about it. I accept it. I like it. So I support it. Now, if it hurts the stock price in the short term as an investor, I'm willing to accept it and I move on. So I think that's the way I think about it.
The real question to me is, why is he drinking soda?
Pinky up. It's water.
Exactly.
Not you.
Oh.
Mas.
But we're not talking about you all the time, Christian. No, but I agree
sorry.
with you, Xander, because he's also on these diet shots, these things that you put in your belly, Big Game or whatever it's called. And one thing you're not supposed to do is drink carbonated soda, right? So, but there we go. He has 4 empty cans of Diet Coke, soon Diet Pepsi. This is hilarious.
But he explained it. Diet Coke doesn't have any calories, number one. And he said Diet Coke, he's repeated this a million times, it's one of the great joys of life. He thinks, well, he does, it's one of the great joys of life. So you enjoying a glass of wine, me enjoying a glass of wine, that's him. He's not a big drinker, I don't think. Diet Coke is his glass of wine. He loves it. He gets joy out of it. So he drinks it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Simple as that.
I don't know. Put a penny.
But I still don't understand. I still don't understand what that second gun is supposed to do there, right? I mean, you can't tell me the richest guy in the world doesn't have enough security around that he needs to sleep with a gun next to his bed.
He's a peculiar guy. I looked at it and I said, it looked like, it was funny because he got Diet Cokes and they got these 2 beautiful guns. He's a peculiar guy. Like, maybe I'm peculiar too. I'm a peculiar guy. So I like it.
So you were laughing at it? You were laughing at it when you saw
it? I thought it was funny.
Really?
Yeah.
And Herbert, come on, tell me that you were not laughing at this.
No, I'm not laughing at it, but I accept it. Like Christian is saying. So just to explain my position about the whole thing, I look back and I think that at the end of the day, the world is much better with Elon in it. And not only the things that he's already created, but the things he's about to create. And I do think that Twitter is going to be an amazing positive to the world. And I can see many different ways that it's going to impact that. So at the end of the day, net, it's all good. Now, when he talks about, I don't know, I don't want to get political and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he needs to be centrist. He needs to get 1 billion users. And so I'm very confident he's going to have a content moderation team. He's already said that we're not talking about hate or racism. And if anybody incites violence, none of that is changing. Then everyone else should just relax. But they're hearing things and it's being amplified. It's incorrectly amplified of what they think he's about to do. So I see him as somebody's going to do the right thing, but he doesn't help himself because he will say things that no wonder people think that he's far right and is going, do things that are wrong. So but at the end of the day, net, it's all going to be incredibly good for the country. And I'm very glad that he's here.
Aren't actions like more important than words? If he's voted a certain way for his entire life, and he's stating, if we're going to talk about words, he's stating that he's moderate and he's in the middle, and he wants to piss off the left 10% and the right 10% and bring everyone to the 80%.
Yeah, the middle.
Then why do we ignore that? I mean, it's like the joke is the third one down that says, greetings, I'm Musket, Elon Musket. Like, that's the joke. I imagine in his head, after a long day, he's like, thinking. He's thinking the joke. Hey, my bedside table, take a look, and then he makes a Musket joke. Like, I don't see like this nefarious action from him, or he's worried about his security. I just don't see any of that. I just see a guy who's trying to blow off some steam with making a funny.
He doesn't care. So look, guys, we have to understand. We know all this, but I'm going to say this and think how ridiculous this sounds. He is the richest man in the world. He owns no homes. He lives in a tiny house where Grimes says he wouldn't get anything but peanut butter sandwiches every day. The man works 20 hours a day. He owns all these companies, and he's running around trying to save all these things. What part of this story is anywhere near normal? We all live in a better house than Elon Musk, and he's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. He doesn't even have YouTube Premium. He was complaining about the ads. He doesn't spend $10 for that. This is not a normal guy. I don't know why we're trying to put him in this pigeonhole. You accept the genius. I know we don't, but we're talking about it, especially Herbert. You're trying to fit him into this. He needs to do this and this content moderation team. He doesn't care about that stuff. He's going to do a poll. Trump's in or Trump's out. He's firing his Twitter. He did a space with 2 people on Twitter, and a week later, they're both gone. There is nothing about normal and Elon Musk that should go in the same sentence. He beats to his own drum. You got to understand that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I wanna add something because I just saw a comment there, and I actually had a long DM conversation with one of my followers who was complaining that he can't stand this share anymore, and if only Elon would be like Tim Cook. Well, then invest in Apple. That is just it, right? I mean, you will never get Elon, and thank heavens, you will never get Elon be as boring and as normal as Tim Cook. If that's what you want, sell your Tesla shares and go into Apple, and you will sleep at night, and that's good. You will not have these fluctuations, and you will not have this hope, and you will not have all this excitement, and you will not have all this pain. That's just what it is.
Okay,
Either you take it or not.
I'm going to make a statement. You guys tell me if I'm right or wrong on this one, okay? Elon does not care about the stock. He's not here to try to raise the stock. When people say Tesla Bulls goes, oh, he's purposely lowering the stock because now it's going to give the retail investors a gift. He doesn't care because he's a billionaire. Okay. He's driven, just like you said, Christian, by changing the mission in the world. So we as investors don't, when he says things, I'm going to take care of you, we interpret that as if he's going to make the stock rise. That's not his driving him. He does care about the retail investors. So there's a bit of that I have to agree, he said, though. But at the end of the day, if we are investing in the companies because we think the company is going to disrupt and make money and it's going to be successful, and we want to support the mission as well. But
I don't
you know what I mean? Like he himself is not trying to improve the stock.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think he's trying to, like you said, he gave credit to retail shareholders for doing better analysis. He did not say that, like, oh, he cares about his employees, and that's why stock splits and that kind of thing. But I really don't think in fact, he's stated it explicitly that he does not care. You don't buy his stock. That's what he's stated in the past.
So I'll go then, Alexandra. I think that was a great question.
I want to inject.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to inject one thing. Earlier I told everybody to do your little planning when you need money. Do you have to finance studies for your kids or buy a house or go into retirement or whatever, and think about how long you want to hold this stock, and well, I think Elon does the same. He has projects including going to Mars, right? And there may be money he needs at one moment for that. And the Tesla stock is his biggest chunk of money. Maybe SpaceX will become at one moment bigger, but at the moment it still is Tesla. So I do believe there is still an underlying interest in having this stock at a high price, because he will need that money at one point or the other, or at least dividends of it, or maybe in any other form of it. So I don't think it's completely out of the world. I also do believe he's looking at the stock price, maybe not as often as us, but he is certainly conscious of it. And I do also believe he probably is not happy if we are all suffering and complaining and going, against it. But will his actions in the short term be driven by the stock price? Never, ever. He's not motivated by putting the price. Actually, the most motivated about the stock price going up, I heard him, was in the last earnings call. It was nearly fake, as much as he was enthusiastically pushing that the narrative.
So let me give my little speech on it. So here's how I think about it. Elon does care about the stock price, not in the short term, but remember when the stock had the big run, 2019-20, he was super excited and he was into it, and he had long, because we didn't have anything for 5 years. So I think he thinks about it long term. And that's why he always talks about he has no interest on the conference calls of the whims of day traders or short termers or option, right? He's thinking long term. And he did do that tweet, I won't let you down. I think he knows he has a huge retail base. He interacts with them on Twitter. He knows they hold the stock, and he knows a lot of people are holding it. He is aware of that. And I think what he's planning is over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10 years, if you are a Tesla shareholder, the value will be accrued. All the things he's doing, he feels if you understand the company, you're going to hold the company and you're going to benefit on the other side. But in a 1 month period, a 6 month period, a 12-month period, a 20, it might look very painful compared to some other stuff. But in the long term, you'll be rewarded. And I think he does care, but I think he cares about it in a 5-year increment, not in like a 1 year or a 6 month increment. Yeah.
Well,
I even want to go further, because he actually said that Tesla stock will be worth more than Aramco and Apple together. So that's about 4.5 trillion, right? We're now at 600 billion. So that's far to go. So you can't say that without thinking of the stock price. You can't say there will be a market cap if you don't have an underlying stock price. So I disagree slightly with you, Herbert, that it's not as if he never cares about the stock price, but certainly not in his immediate actions. He will not shy away from something thinking, oh my God, what impact will that have on the stock price? That's not at all how he's wired.
Well, if he cares about Mars, right, more, that was a great point that you made, that he cares about other things, but like let's analyze this. He sold stock that he is planning to use in the future. He sold it for Twitter, right? A business not making money. And that when I analyzed and thought, like, why are you doing this? It means so much to, right? Wasn't there something about a tweet about, like, if there's no free speech in America, then we're doomed, basically. Right. So like that's how serious it is that he would sell stock to to take this on. So we might not like it, but like Christian said, all you could do is accept it and try to see what is that 7D move. We were up to 70. I thought it was 4, and then it was 5.
Exactly. Yeah.
6.
I think it's direct. So
inflationary times, Sander.
Twitter is going to be the direct democracy, and it's going to be the payment platform that he needs in Mars. But I think the direct democracy, you notice how he'll do polls and polls and polls. Once you got 1 billion users instead of just 250, and some people are recommending that it shouldn't come from Elon's account because it's it's a subset of people versus it just being, let's say, the Twitter.com.
Well, they can follow him too.
Yeah.
Well, he's a good reference point. He has like 120 million followers from all different kinds of people that love him, people that hate him. So you're right. I think he said that he wants to get more of a generic poll. So I think he's aware of all this, Herbert.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Yeah, so he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And in the meantime, I'm enjoying Twitter a lot. I think you guys are. I mean, I feel good on it. I think the platform is doing well in its early days. Of course, there's things that can be improved, but I think for the most part, he's just got to get it profitable, and he's more about it than me. I think we're going to talk about a little bit of that, like the cash flow of Twitter, right? Where do you think they are with becoming cash flow positive, right? They cut a lot of labor.
They're already cash flow positive now, and we're waiting for him to make that announcement, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, cutting 75% of the staff, cutting the infrastructure. And then the question is how much of the advertisers they lost. If he just lost 30%, they're cash flow positive. If it's 50% or more pausing, that might be a different story. But yeah.
But
I think he will wait for the 3-month severance packages to be paid out to announce it. I don't think he wants to announce it before that.
Right.
We should go back to your thing, Herbert. At the end of the thing, you always talk. I think this was about the stock price is going to go up. So we're going into the epic Q4. What's everybody think? Go ahead. What's the question, Herbert?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I think we should be very, very excited about Tesla at this point because everything has checked off to the perfect sense. We got good China numbers. We got Berlin extra shift. We got Q4 numbers looking great. The semi event is coming out. We're finally delivering it, and it's got great specs on these. It's going to revolutionize delivery. FSD beta was rolled out. People are not talking about it, but that's a significant milestone. Everything's looking great for the company. So I am not worried about my investment in Tesla. And then yet it's just more like this whole thing about, sucking the wind. And we're not even, you and I are talking about Twitter more than we are about Tesla.
Right.
And that's impacted, tenfold
Yeah,
everywhere else.
But people
And
want like the stock price to just V shape, and that's
yeah,
I don't think that but that's not going to happen in this environment, right? Especially with Twitter stuff. So but like, look, downside. Who knows? It's all of it is done. I mean, not all of it, but how much
yeah,
further?
we're at the bottom.
How much further can you go, right? With fundamentals of the business compared
Yeah.
to the upside. So, like for all the people that are losing sleep and messaging Alexandra, and at the end of the day,
Mama.
it's come to mama. At the end of the day, just look out to the future. Are the fundamentals intact? Like Herbert, you're asking about the brand, and is it like really? I mean, I think it's a question worth discussing, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you don't think? I don't think we asked you. Do you think it's damaging?
I
Don't
don't
think
think.
about it. This is bad.
No. I don't think there's long-term damage to the brand, because at the end of the day, the product is going to be so amazingly good that there's that will speak more to the brand than Elon's antics. But today, there is damaging to the brand that's happening right now. There's no doubt about it.
Maybe I think even more to the brand. They're selling all the cars, Herbert.
It doesn't mean the brand's not
the
being
sentiment.
impacted.
I think you mean the sentiment. The investor sentiment is low because of Elon's acting, not the brand. The brand's doing better than ever.
No, both investors and consumers. The brand is about consumers.
Why are they having a record Q4 if the brand's taking a hit?
Supply and demand is not driven by brand alone, right? It's being driven by need
of
an
lot
EV.
Of it. If you hate the brand, no one's going to buy it.
It's been
Herbert,
impacted, but it's not enough.
Are you talking about certain people in America, nowhere else in the world, that are very politically driven by the left today, don't like the brand? Yes, you're probably right. I think there are people who are really annoyed with Elon and then project that to Tesla. But that doesn't mean outside of America. That doesn't mean the people not interested by politics. That doesn't mean the independents. That doesn't mean the right. That doesn't mean most of the left, right? It just is that motivated left. Yeah, I think that's.
And how many of these leftists that are driving a Tesla gave up their Tesla? We know Alyssa Milano did. That was hilarious. But who else?
No, I agree.
No one.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that. It's just that
AOC's still driving her Tesla.
I want a picture of her. That would be it. Just now a picture of her.
You said it perfectly earlier, which is Elon is a different person, and he's like this person that owns Tesla, and he's created Tesla. We don't even know any of the other employees except you and I do, but no one else knows a single other employee at Tesla. And they only read articles written that's distributed out there. And yesterday I took a look at quickly, and every article was talking about Elon bashing Apple everywhere. That was it. But they don't read all the other tweets that Elon does, right? Except for that big one that the mainstream media picks up. And so there is definitely a happening where the narrative and what the consumers are picking up, he's not helping himself.
Well,
right?
Let me interrupt you here. So when it reads Elon bashing Apple, half of America's readers will go, yeah, and half will go, oh my God, right? That's just it. But everything in America is like that. And outside of America, nobody couldn't care less. So and that's just going to be it. That's just going to be it. And it is probably against his usual base. I do believe the traditional Tesla buyers were more majority Democrats and left-leaning people. So he's losing some of the existing base. He's probably building goodwill with the rest of the base that he never touched before. But be it. I mean, we just have to get over it. We don't have a traditional CEO. We never had it. It was probably more acceptable in the traditional Tesla world. And it's probably a little bit more painful at the moment, but this will pass. This is not going to last long.
Exactly. And I'll remind you that Tesla, Elon Musk, this has happened before. They went 5 years, the stock didn't do much. The company kept growing revenue, and they were going bankrupt, and short sellers tried to destroy it, and the media were out to kill it. There was fires every other day. And then the flip switched. At some point, you can't deny what's right in front of your face. They turn profitable, and the same thing's going to happen again. Every quarter after quarter, they're going to deliver record numbers. They're going to get more profitable. All these things we're talking about are going to happen, and they're going to happen at scale. And at one point, a switch is going to go off, and everybody's going to say, It's undeniable. Tesla's taking over the world and the stock will go up. And your job is to sit there and wait till it happens and not get panicked out of it.
Hey, cable company's here, so I got to run.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Well, we can close it down.
Enjoy
Thank you
the cable
both. Thank
company.
everybody. Thanks, everybody. We'll come back next Tuesday. CyberBulls. Thanks, everybody. Talk
Thanks,
soon.
guys. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.